Hi, this is Christine. Welcome to Scrap and Rabbit. I moved my camera a little bit closer today because I'm going to show you this micro mini journal that I made. I think it's so cute and fun to make. It's also a great way to use up some of those little bits that you have left in your stash. But I made some printables for this little micro mini, and I'll show you the printables after, but I want to show you how I made the wraparound cover for this little album. So that's what today's tutorial is going to be about. I'm going to make a little cover for my next micro mini, and it's going to be a Christmas based one, and I'm also working on the templates for that one. But first, let me show you the inside of this little jewel. There's my wraparound cover. And I have a little, this is one of the printables. I have a little tag in there that I attached in there. So all the images here are in my templates, as well as most of the papers. Here's another one with a little tag. So this is all in miniature, and a little pocket. And here's a little image. This was from my floral templates. I had some tags with a bunch of pictures in a floral theme, and I shrank them down to make these. So this is the first signature, and I have a little mini tag in here. I'm going to glue this together to hold it in place. I forgot to do that. And here's a little mini envelope that I made, and it's got a little liner inside. And this is like one of the templates I had for the mini envelopes, but the originals are a lot bigger than this. And here's a little note paper that goes inside it. So I just tucked that inside this pocket. This is some parchment paper that I had. I guess I should give the size first. Let me start by giving you the size. This measures almost 3.5 on the cover by 4.25, and it's just about 2 inches thick. So this folds out like that. I just folded that. So you can journal on both sides. And then this is some paper, some lined paper, and I shaded around the edge, and this is all scanned. This is some tea-dyed paper that I have, but I also have a sheet of tea-dyed paper in my templates, so you can always print that off if you don't want to go through the actual tea dyeing process. And here's one of the inside pages, and on each of these little tabs I think I've got 8 little tabs, but 4 of them have little charms on. So I attached this little 4-leaf clover, and then I've got some, this was also a printable, and that's just squared paper. And then I tea stained and scanned one of my index cards, so I fold that in 2 and it makes a page. This was from a book, a dictionary that I had tea stained, so that's not a scanned image. Here's a little tag that I scanned, and there's the other side of my page. And then again, this is my tea dyed paper. And this is so cute. I think it's a little index card that I shrunk down to miniature size, and it's got the tea dyeing look on it. And there's another page, and here's another little tag, and I just attached some rickrack to that. There's the next signature, little tag, and this is another envelope that I made, and you can tuck something in here, and you can also put a piece of 2-sided tape there if you wanted to seal the envelope. But this is so cute, and it fits in a purse. There's some more parchment paper, this is a tiny little leaf. I tried to keep my charms floral themed, since this is a floral themed journal. Another one of my index cards. And let's see, I'll see if I can just go through the images. Here's another tag, and I just attached it to the side like that. So it's a great way to add images if you don't want to take up the writing space. Another little mini index card. I'll show you the templates instead of going through each of the images. This was just to give you an idea of what it looked like. This is another little mini envelope. This was super fun to make. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make this easy wraparound cover and how to make the elastic tie. And so this is what the templates look like. I printed these on photo paper so they come out nice and clear, and this was just done on my inkjet printer. So there's 3 signatures on this page and 3 on this one, although I only used 4 signatures in my little mini journal. You can use the other pictures, still cut them down and use them as tags. And these are the inside pages. I made them so that they look like they're printed on tea-dyed paper. So there's 6 journal pages. These are the pages that I scanned. So you've got this graph paper, line paper, and this is graph paper without the border. And then I made these little envelope templates. So they're in greens and blues. There's 2 types of envelopes in there. And here's a little note paper that fits in this envelope. And here's the other one. This is the sheet of tags that I used in my little micro journal. And these are some tabs, so you can just cut around those and put them in the journal. Or you can also use pieces of ribbon, fabric, or any other cardstock that you have. Just cut it up and use it as tabs. And these were some more tea-stained index and cards and tags. So these are my index cards, and I just fold them in 2 to make pages. And then these are some more of the index cards, and these are the little minis. And then of course these are pockets, and they're in 2 styles, 3 different colors. So you've got the straight pocket, and then you've got the diagonal pockets. So I'm going to show you now how to go about making the wraparound cover for this little micro mini album. And then the rest of the process is the same. You just attach the pages on the side and go about decorating your pages. I start by cutting the pieces that I need for my cover. And I'm using a cardstock, I can't remember if it's 130 pounds or something. It's a thicker cardstock that I got from Michael's, not the 65 pound, but the one that's a little bit thicker. And I like using this for the covers for these small journals. For the larger ones, I like to use a chipboard, but this will be more than sufficient for these small micro journals. So I start by cutting all of my pieces. They each measure 4 1/4 inches high. That's how tall my micro album is. Yeah, 4 1/4. And then I've got my front and back cover, which is this and this. And those each measure 3 1/4 inches wide. And then the front flap that attaches to the spine is a little bit narrower, and it sits on the album like that. Now you could make it wider so that it lines up with the edge, but I wanted it a little bit narrower, and then I put a little decorative border on the front. For the spine on the left measures 1 1/2 inches, and the spine on the right measures 1 5/8 of an inch, so it's just a little bit bigger than 1 1/2. And the reason for that is so that when this little journal is closed, this cover will fit on top of this one, so the spine is a little bit higher than the one on this side. So I've pre-cut my pieces. So I've got my left cover. I'm going to put it on my scoreboard so that you can see better. So I've got my left cover here. I've got my left spine, which is 1 1/2 inches wide. We'll go next to it, followed by the front cover, and then the spine on the right, which is a little wider, and then the flap on the right. And I'm going to attach these like that. Now there's a couple of different ways you can do it. I'm going to start by attaching the front and back covers to my spine. You can use a Tyvek, and you can also use a piece of plastic. I've mostly used this plastic in the past, and what I do is I place my spine on the plastic. I just use some two-sided tape to attach that, and then I put two-sided tape about 1/8 of an inch away from the spine, so I'm going to have a little gap, and then I would attach my front cover and my back cover on each side like that with two-sided tape. I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. I was at my hardware store and I came across this carpet tape, and I'm going to see how well this works because it's two-sided, so I can attach it to my cardstock, and then I can also use it to attach my paper on top over the spine area. So I'm going to start by cutting a little piece that will measure about 4 1/4 inches tall. Well, I've never worked with this stuff before, so we'll see how it goes. Now I'm thinking if I was to buy two-sided tape at a craft store, it would probably be a lot more expensive. I've got 42 feet of this and it costs me $8. Okay, so here's the first piece. I'm going to move this plastic away. So I'm going to start by attaching this tape to my back cover and the spine. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to measure 4 1/4. It's a little bit longer than I need. And then I'm going to attach this piece on here, about 1/8 of an inch away, like that. Now another thing I could have done, I think, is wrap it over the sides, and that would give even more strength. So maybe the next time I would do that, I would wrap my tape. I'll show you on the other spine that I'm gonna make. Okay, so next I'm gonna attach this piece here, and then that's going to attach like that. So I am going to use a longer piece of tape, and we'll see how that goes. I'll add about 1/2 inch on each side, just approximately. think I'll just start by attaching it here, and I'm going to center it like that. And then this will attach here. It's going to be really crooked, but it doesn't matter because it's not going to be visible. So here's my 1/8 of an inch. And then I can just fold this up. Now if I was using just this piece of plastic with the two-sided tape, I would just have it the same height. But this is thin when I remove the backing, so it's not going to add too much bulk at all. So now I'm going to attach my front flap. Yeah, that's really sticky. Great. Okay, so here is my cover, and that's going to fold over like that. So next I'm going to use some scrapbook paper to cover. This is the outside. And I think I'm going to use this. Now this measures about 13 inches, so I can't use my one sheet of 12 by 12 paper, so I'm going to have to cut two pieces to go across the full width of the covers. So now I'm going to work on my table, and I'm going to position this so that here on this spine you can see that I've got half and half the paper there. Now there's a couple of ways that you can do that. I could have had my paper just go up to here and then have a border, have a little punched design cover where the paper joins. I put it right in the middle here for this journal. So I think I'll just do the same thing again. So here's my center. That's going to go like that. And I'm going to have about, oh, this is a small journal, so I'll have maybe 1/2 inch to 3/4 inches all around of paper to fold up. So I'm just going to cut this. Again, I'm just going to do this approximately like that. And I'm also going to have about the same amount of paper at the end, and this comes right up to my center, which is good. So I need to tape my covers, and in this case, because I'm using this two-sided tape, I just need to pull that off. I'll use some of my two-sided tape for the rest of the surface on the cover. So that's going to go on here like that. Now the easiest way is just remove a little bit of the tape backing from the end, and then you can position this in place. And then you remove the rest of the tape backing. That way, if your paper is crooked, it's a lot easier to remove than trying to get it all down in one shot perfectly. So I'm going to remove this tape. Wow, this is really sticky, and I'll remove the other piece after. Okay, and then this one. Wow, I imagine this would probably hold fabric pretty well too. I like putting fabric on my spine. Okay, and this lines up like that. Okay, and then next, I may as well do it now. I'm going to use this paper to cover the rest of the journal. So I'm gonna cut it so that it's the same height. And again, I'm gonna want to have about 3/4 inches on the right side. So this is going to be my front flap. So I'm just going to join these two like that. Okay, I'm going to cut some of the excess off. So next I use my scissors, and I'm going to cut diagonally at the corners like that, about 1/8 of an inch away from the corner of the cardstock, and that will allow me to fold the paper easier and give a nice crisp corner. Instead. Put that like that, and then I put some along the diagonal. You could also glue this if you prefer. Okay, so I'm going to start at this end. I'm going to fold this up like that. So I'll remove this piece of tape backing, and then just up to the corners. Like that. And I can glue this down. That. Now I'm just going to start folding that up like that. So now I can remove all of my tape and press down here in the corner so that this is nice and flat. Here so that it's nice and tied down, and then you can fold this up. And I do the same thing on this side. And then I can shape. And that's going to go like that. Before I attach my border on the outside, I think I'm going to cover the inside in case I want to just wrap the border around the whole cover. So I'm going to use this paper for this end, and then I'm going to cut a piece of this to cover the other section, just like I did here. I use this bluish paper here and then my reddish paper over there. So I'm going to cut this so that it's about 1/8 of an inch shorter all around. Like that. And then here I'm going to line it up, I guess, with this edge where the papers meet. And then this is going to fit inside like that. again about up to where the paper meets, and 1/8 of an inch from the end. And I'm going to trim it so that it's the same height as the rest of the liner. Then I'm going to use my two-sided tape to attach this. Again, you can use glue if you prefer. Because I'm using my tape though, I want to make sure that where the covers crease, it's going to hold down nice and solid. So I'm also going to tape around both sides of where the little gap is in my folds to make sure that the paper sits down properly. And when I tape, I'm not going to go all the way from top to bottom because I don't want this sticky edge to show. So I'm just going to go from about here just to cover the bottom edge of the paper, and then here. Oops. And I want it on both sides of the fold. Like that, so when my paper is attached, it will adhere, okay? And then I'm also going to put some more tape along the center, like that. And I'm going to tape the edge of my paper. Like that. And then I'm going to put a few more strips along the middle. Like that. I'll put another piece here because you want to make sure that your paper is going to stay put. Okay, so I'm going to start with this piece, and I'll remove a little bit of this two-sided tape backing from one end, and I position that on here, and when it's nice and straight, I can start attaching at this end. So now I can just lift this up and remove the tape backing. I bet that carpet tape would have really held this on nicely as well. This does use up a lot of two-sided tape, so I probably would have been better off using glue, but I find tape does a cleaner job, neater job. Okay, so now I'm going to attach this piece. Like that. So I'm going to tape around the edges here as well. So there we go. Now I can shape my covers. And this is why you want your paper taped down at the creases so that it stays put. And there we go. So instead of wrapping my border trim around the covers, I think I'd rather just have one piece on the outside like this, and then another piece on the inside like that. So I'm going to go ahead and tape these to the covers. One thing I wanted to do, and I forgot, was attach my little border like that to the edge of my front flap, and I really should have put that in here and then covered the inside so that this would be covered up. So I just pulled this back a little bit, and I'm going to add my border. When you're adding your border, make sure that it's not too wide, because you don't want it to stick over the edge here, because don't forget, you can have your elastic going around and you don't want these little borders to get squished. So I want them narrow enough that they will sit on the front cover. So I'm going to go ahead and position that here. That looks good. And then I'll reattach my liner. Like that. So this sits on top like that. If you wanted to use a wider border, you could always cut your front flat a little bit shorter. So now this is ready for me to add my signature pages into the spine, and I follow the same procedure as any other journal. For attaching the pages, if you refer back to my previous journal tutorial where I made a Christmas journal with the printables, I'll include a link in there, and it shows you where I'm attaching the pages inside my journal. And I'm going to have 4 rows of holes because I'm going to have 4 signatures to attach. And I need to do that before I can attach my elastic. I've attached my pages inside my covers. So I've got my 4 signatures here, and you can see the stitching on the outside, and this is where I'm going to be attaching my elastic that goes around the covers. So I start with a piece of elastic. You don't even need to trim it right away. If you want to save on your elastic, trim it after when you know exactly how much you need. So I'm just going to grab a little tool here and lift up these strings, and I'm going to run my elastic underneath that, and then I'm going to come back through the bottom and then back up in the top. Okay, so then I can judge how much elastic I'm going to need, and I can adjust the length. So I can decide where I want it to tie. I can have it here, I can have it over on the side. I kind of like having the little knot right here in the front. So I've got too much elastic here still, so I'm going to pull back on here. That's good. And you want to have enough so that there's room for expansion, but this isn't a very big journal. Okay. So I'm going to cut my ends off. Like that. And I want to make sure that there's enough pull to hold it closed, and I tie a knot. And that's why you don't want your border here sticking out too much, because you don't want to squish it like that. And the nice thing about this is if you did need to have room for more expansion, you can always undo the knot and just loosen it. And that goes like that. Now I'm going to leave this length because I might attach some little beads to the end of it. If you like, you can tie a knot here to hold everything in place, but I find that it's not really necessary with these small albums. But I will attach this flower here with my glue gun, and that's also going to hold everything in place. So I'm going to finish embellishing my little Christmas micro journal as well. So I hope you found this tutorial useful, especially for those of you who are just starting out and making these little micro albums. So have a nice day and happy crafting. Bye.